Hey Midwest Conference fans, I'm Paityn Tabor here on Midwest Conference Media Day. Today I'm with Monmouth College head football coach Chad Braun. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming. So last year, you and your team finished 9-2 overall. What were some of the highlights of the year?
Yeah, I think, really a big come from behind win against Chicago early in the year. We were down late in that game. I think 6 minutes ago, I think we were down 2 scores and came back and won that game. That was a big win for us. Early on, it kind of propelled us and got us going. And then, finishing off the year, getting a chance to play in a bowl game, the first ever, Lakefront Bowl, and finishing off your year with a win, going out on a high with that for our seniors, and so those are kind of the two ones that stand out to me.
What was that bowl game experience like?
Yeah, so it was really unique. I don't know if you've seen anything on it, but the weather was, it was snowing. It was, it was like you couldn't even see yourselves and warm up. It was coming down that hard. So it was a great experience for our guys. At first, obviously, we don't get a chance to go play in the NCAA playoffs. And you're in a 3-way tie. Our guys are obviously disappointed because that's the goal, is you want to play in the NCAA playoffs. And so, I wasn't sure how motivated our guys were going to be to play in that bowl game. But once we got to practicing and preparing for another team, our guys really came out and played a great game, and we were fortunate to get the win. And so it was a great experience for our guys. They really enjoyed the trip.
What was your focus this offseason to help your team take that next step forward and, have that playoff berth next season?
Yeah, we got a very good conference. Anyone can beat you any week. And so, our big focus, all the time we talk about just getting better. If you get 1% better every day, you're going to be where you want to be at the end of the year. And we can't worry about what anyone else has or what they're bringing back. We got to worry about ourselves. But we got a great league, great coaches in this league, great players, and so we respect that we got to come ready to play each and every week, and we're just going to try and get better and better every time we step on the field, every time we step in the weight room, every time we step in the classroom. That's really our focus. So.
Coach, going into this season, who are some guys on your team on the offensive and defensive side of the ball that you're really looking forward to kind of watching take that next step for you this season to help further your guys' success?
Yeah, so I think we have some returning players that have been extremely productive, and all starts at quarterback on the offensive side of the ball. Carter Boyer coming back, first team all conference player, had a great year for us. So when you have your signal caller back and you have the leadership in that position, you feel really good about your offense. But overall on offense, I think we bring out 8 out of 11 starters back. So feel really good about our group, a veteran group. When you have veteran players, they know the expectation. And they know how to play the game, and that helps when you have that much experience coming back. Defensively, we got a guy in our secondary, Nick Harris, who's first team all conference player, really good player for us, and we're excited about him and what he brings to the table. And again, defensively, a really veteran group. 8 out of 11, all 3 of our linebackers are back. 3 out of the 4 in the secondary. I think 3 out of the 4 up front on defense. So it's a lot of fun when you bring back that much experience. Now we're losing some great players. We lose Corbin Personette, who's the defensive lineman of the year 2 years in a row and super productive, and so he's going to be a big person, that big void that we have to fill on the defensive side of the ball, and we got a guy in Anthony Secaucus, who was a newcomer a year ago, and we're excited about what he brings to the table.
Yeah, that actually leads me right into my next question for
Sorry
you.
about that.
No, it's totally okay. I was going to ask you about Corbin. What are you going to miss most about him? And you talked about it a little bit, but who are some of the guys you're expecting to step up and fill his shoes?
Yeah, you just can't replace Corbin's production over the last 2 years, by one person. Anthony's a guy that we just talked about. He's going to step into that role, and I would say, he's going to play quite a bit at that position, and he was really productive a year ago. Are we going to get the same production that we got out of Corbin, out of Anthony? I'm not sure. We'll find out. But we got 3 returners on that defensive line, and so some of those other guys have to step up. Tevin Baker, Brant Baltus, Nick Serrano, and then we got a guy that we missed a year ago, Anthony Williams, who was going to play a huge role in our defense a year ago up front, and he's coming back. And then Sincere Brant. So we got some guys that really, as a collective group, have to replace his production. You're not going to do it with one guy individually.
Yeah. Who's the guy on your roster that maybe we don't know by name or by stat that you see making a really big difference?
Yeah, I would say a guy, Jackson Berggren, was kind of a receiver that didn't get a lot of because we had Nate Thornton and Jake Uraz a year ago, and Jackson was a sophomore, and he's had a really productive offseason. I think he's going to have a big season for us this year. I think he's a guy that a lot of people are going to take notice of this year. Opposite of Nate Thornton. Obviously, Nate Thornton on offense, he gets a lot of attention. He's a terrific receiver. He's one of the top receivers in the conference coming back. So we expect big things out of Nate, But, opposite of him, last year we had Jake, and Jake was super productive, and I think you're going to see Jackson step up in that role and kind of take over.
Coach, you have several fifth-year seniors coming back this fall. What did they bring to this past offseason that is going to help your team get ready for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I just think, a veteran presence, they know how to work. They know the standard of what it takes to be great. And, those guys bring that veteran work ethic, that veteran presence. They understand what it takes to win a conference championship. Those guys, those fifth-year guys won it, as freshmen in 2019. That's the last time we've been in the NCAA playoffs because 20 we had the COVID year. And then, Lake Forest has got us the last 2 years, So those guys, understand what it took as freshmen to win a conference championship, and now they're in a leadership role. And so they bring a ton of playing experience back with them, a ton of leadership experience. So it's going to be fun having those guys on board for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for you. Coach, when not watching film on Monmouth, which I know you do constantly, what team or player in the conference do you enjoy watching just kind of as a fan?
Yeah, so, I would say a guy that didn't play last year was A.J. Jackson. I think he's a terrific player. He's a great young man. I actually met him in the high school when I went down there to recruit, and he's an outstanding young man, not only an outstanding football player, but he's a great young man. And so he's a guy that we really missed in our conference last year because he's so electric in the punt return game, the kickoff return game, and then he's a terrific receiver. So he's a guy that I really enjoy watching play against everybody except us.
Right, of course.
For sure.
Coach, my last question for you today, it's actually from Frank Rossi, who's the co-host of D3 Football in the Huddle. So he wants to know, he says, we didn't necessarily know in 2022 that your opener versus Wartburg would be a game for you against a national top 5 team. What did you learn last year from that game that helped lead to a successful season last year? And what does this year's matchup mean now that Wartburg is so highly ranked nationally? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, Wartburg's a tremendous, first game for us. I mean, 5th ranked team in the country. So it's, they're always a well-prepared team, a well-coached team. They're always a physical football team. And it's a tough place to play. Like, we've never played good at their place, and we got to go do it this year. So I got to figure out a way to play well up there, because we've generally played them better at home than we have on the road. So I got to do a better job getting our guys prepared for that trip right off the bat. The nice thing is, I really think we have a much more veteran group going on the road this year than we have ever in the past. When we've gone up and played that game, it seems like we've been really, really young. And we have a much more experienced group this year. But we always learn a lot about ourselves playing Wartburg because, there's things you can get away with maybe playing a team that you're a lot better than. When you play Wartburg, you're going to find out what you're doing wrong right away. And you got to get those things fixed moving forward. So they're a great matchup. They're a great football team. We really respect them. And, it's going to be a great challenge week 1. And we're going to find out, how good we're going to be this year right away when we get up there and, play them under the lights. So, yeah.
Well, that's all I have for you today, Coach. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I wish you the very best of luck this season.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.